Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I am still in my temporary living space, but things are slowly coming together. I do have my mic and my camera set up, so hopefully, unlike the last two, the audio and the video are a lot better quality. Thanks for hanging in there with me, but I'm really excited to dive into today's topic because we're going to talk about, if I remember correctly, it's been a long time, this is my second aha click moment. This was something I learned about the universe that really helped unlock and heal and balance out my system so much. And I want to remind you that everything we talk about is scientifically proven based off of energy. And if we do not use these universal laws, we are in a very locked up place where everything will feel more friction based versus an opening. So just keep in mind that every single one of these tools, it's about opening and expanding, because when we raise in frequency and we raise our consciousness, the only way to actually do that, we can logically learn information, but if we are not embodying it, we will not be in that state. So with this is another fundamental law of the universe that if you use it, your existence and your world starts to expand and open up because it is removing that limitation or that friction in your life. So we are going to talk about the law of balance. Now, this one was a big game changer for me back in the day because for so long, I saw my world in a certain way, through a certain lens. And it wasn't until the law of balance where I started to take scenarios in my life and balance them out to where it was no longer hurting me and I was no longer holding those situations. Because again, our perception of something is really only harming us. So this is to help you release and balance things out in your life. So the law of balance technically means, on a scientific level, that there is an equal amount of good and there's an equal amount of bad in every single situation on this planet. On a scientific level, we literally would combust if it wasn't balanced. Now, this is what's really cool. Wars are started when people refuse to see the other side of the coin. When two groups of people refuse to see the other side, we get war. On a physical outcome, right? War is like explosion and people dying. This is the physical outcome of refusing to see the other side. That's what creates war on an energetic level. So if you take that and you just bring that down and realize that if we are carrying around situations in our life where we are only seeing one side of the coin, that is literally a little mini war going on inside your body, that if we refuse to see the other side, it will only get louder and louder and louder in your system. For example, when I was much younger, I went through a lot of trauma or situations that I carried around, and I'm sure you heard me say I thought my life was cursed. That was not the case, but that is how I viewed it. And that was my depiction of everything. So everywhere I went, I only saw one side of the coin. So why this helped me so much is once I realized that on a scientific level, there has to be an equal amount of good in a situation and an equal amount of bad in a situation, I realized I was seeing all the bad. Great, really good at seeing that. Now, can I equally see the amount of good in a situation? So anything I went through, I would sit there and make a list and figure out, okay, there has to be the equal amount of good, and I'm going to find it until I literally am happy that it happened. And that's what I did. And what I found was I was able to completely release these very, horrific experiences that I had, gave me some sort of story or label the rest of my life, and it released. Because what I want you to understand is that the brain only runs because it's trying to look for information. So when we focus on the negative, our brain is running rampant on it. But what it's actually trying to find is the balance. It's actually trying to find the other side of the coin. You don't realize that because it's focused on the negative. And the reason why it can't let go of that is because the brain is pretty much begging for an answer to it. It's trying to look for information. So if you feed it the information of saying, this is the positive that came out of this situation, what happens is it's, again, a magic trick. Your brain goes, okay, I'm good with that. And it stops ever thinking about it. And it releases and it disappears like it's never happened before. A lot of people are like, well, is that a good thing that it will release? Because we get so fixated on the situation, like we think that's going to help our life somehow. But technically it's not. The only way we can see truth, and I mean real source truth in a situation, is we have to see both sides equally. And once we get to that 100%, we can see the truth, the real truth. And so with situations in my life for so long, I wasn't seeing the truth. Once I saw how it helped me, how it benefited me, how I would never change it, and I balanced it out, that is when all of a sudden I saw the full picture of the whole story. So now I'm viewing it like source. I am viewing that situation the way source would view it, and it's perfection, because everything is perfect. Everything is here to help us grow. Everything is here to give us the things we need. But it's based off what we perceive it as that gets created. So our job is to constantly balance out situations, balance out every scenario. And I remember back in the day when I learned this law of the universe, I took the biggest villains in the world and all these things and I balanced it out. And that's when I really understood this, because I was like, wow. Because then all of a sudden you do see the truth. You see the source information around it. And that is when you can actually change the world and help people. You know, a lot of people use the negative to then find things out of it to help people. But what I have found is if you don't heal and balance the whole situation, you actually can't find the best information to help people change their life. So I promise you, if you want to make a difference in this world, and if you're watching this, you do, your soul is attracted to this type of information because you are here to do something. I promise you, your strength and your genius and who you are will come alive if you are good at balancing situations. Because again, this is a source perspective. This is that high frequency perspective, to be able to take a scenario and go, there has to be good in this. Think of the battery, the plus and the minus. It's balanced. If it was not balanced, it would blow up, not work, all of that. We don't work properly. We do not function without balance because we are energy. So just imagine right now, think about all the things that you think are just negative. And I'm sure a few popped up in your head as I said that. And I really want you to consider that not seeing the other side of the coin, not seeing the benefits of all of it, how that is actually locking you up, keeping you not working properly. Because again, I had this narrative that my life was cursed, and I kept that narrative because all I saw was a negative. This is happening to me. This is happening to me. This is happening to me. My life must be cursed. This is awful. And it wasn't until I took all those scenarios, balanced them out to where I was like, wait a second, maybe I'm actually a completely different person than I ever thought I was. So your identity changes. Also, if we're talking about waking up your value, your true value, all these scenarios, if you listen to the episode of Challenge, in challenges, this is where we wake up and we have strengths and skills that come alive. So if we see the positive in situations, we will actually hone in on how that changed and molded us. And that's the value that starts to get activated. And now your brain is connecting to that. So now you realize, wow, I am really valuable because I have all these things. So it's also going to tweak your self-image, because There's a scenario back in the day. I was sexually assaulted and I carried that around for a while, and then I healed it and saw all the positives. Really would hug the man today that did that, because if it wasn't for that scenario, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I think back and I learned my surroundings really well. I learned how to pick up cues. I understood my body on a different level. My intuitive gifts woke up a bit more because I had only that, because my body kind of shut down. Trust me when I say this, in scenarios, you are learning something and taking things on that benefit you. And our higher selves, no matter what you believe in, there is not just like you have the short end of the stick, or it's just because. And that is, if you listen to the Inside Out world, nothing is just because. We are subconsciously creating everything. And in the negative, there has to be a positive, because we are meant to absorb value from everything. There isn't just like, oh, we're going to waste our time doing this. Trust me, the time here is highly valuable and you are meant to do something. So our higher selves are not going to waste time going, yeah, you're just going to go through this just for the heck of it. Like, have fun. And we'll get back to that thing we're meant to do, in 6 months when you get over this. Like, that is not what we're here for. So everything we go through, there is a reason. And if we don't see the positive, of any situation, then we are completely actually missing out on the substance that we can gain from it and the opening that we can take away from this. So it's not just things that we've gone through, it's anything. So if you look into the world and there's anything that you go, this is absolutely horrible, equally, it is absolutely genius. I remember back in the day, this is so awful, I'm going to share this with you. I used to get really bored talking to people because I'm like, oh, this is not going to help me. And I use this actually, I'm like, nope, there has to be genius in this. Find the genius thing in this. And I would, and that is when I realized there is genius in everything. And that made my relationships better. And I was missing out on a lot of information that was coming to me because I was so anti, oh, it has, there's nothing in this that I can gain from this. Again, we are going to be the ones missing out if we do not see that on a scientific level, energy has to be balanced at all times. If we only see one side of the coin, it means we are only getting 50% of the information, 50% of the value, 50% of how it benefits our life. There will not be an opening. If anything, this is how we get illnesses and all of that. When we have a perception that is imbalanced, this is what starts to create those reflections we talk about. It starts to create the imbalances of our life because we are not viewing it as a whole of perfection. We are starting to view it out of balance. And so our body starts to go out of balance. A simple example, cancer is anger. So when we have that at a very young age, we had an experience that we did not balance out. And again, this is no one's fault. It's just part of the soul plan. But we were not balanced out in the situation. And we carry that scenario for our life over and over and over again. We're replaying the imbalance perception. And then all of a sudden that anger starts to manifest and we start to fester in it. And we start to have this thought, if it wasn't for this scenario, my whole life wouldn't be ruined. It wouldn't be infected if this one thing didn't happen. And that's how we start to have that imbalance. And then our body starts to create the imbalance. And so now our body that has cancer is trying to tell us that we believe that there is a scenario that shouldn't have happened. And that is causing the anger and causing this storyline. So just by one perception being off, we can create cancer. And I used to say this to myself all the time when I was younger. I was like, I'm going to get cancer. I intuitively knew before I woke up that I was so imbalanced in how I saw things that I could intuitively feel I was creating such an imbalance in my body. I just had a feeling like it was going to happen. I didn't understand that I would heal it all, but I just had this feeling that something was so out of whack to the point where I felt like I'm going to get something in my body if I don't figure this out. Luckily, I've healed everything, so my body is very healthy. But everything that we experience is that imbalance of our perception. So if we start to use this tool and we start to really take every scenario, and it can be small things. You can break a plate and you're like, damn it, I just got this plate, it shouldn't have broken. Quickly see the positive of the plate breaking. And that might be, well, it's teaching me to slow down and be present. I was not present, I was moving. So breaking this one plate, I can buy another one, but it's going to help me slow down and become more present. That is more beneficial than, a $20, $10 plate. I would rather be present and then not miss the details of my life that really matter. So instantly balancing that out creates an opening. You start to see the full picture of it all. You get the lesson from it. You get the message from it. You get the substance and the value from it. Now, equally, if you are super heightened in something, really, really positive about something, refusing to see any sort of like, how can I grow and become better in this scenario? So for example, if let's say you had an awesome game, like, I don't know, you play soccer, so random. You play soccer, you have this like epic game. And then afterwards you're celebrating, this is amazing, da, da, da. And you're in that state of heightened positivity. Spiritual world will tell you all day long that that is where you want to be. The problem is, because of the law of balance, something will have to swing in to pull you down. You might go to your car and then all of a sudden you have a flat tire. It has to balance you out because you cannot be in a heightened state or a negative state too long. It's this, we constantly have to be here. And I'll tell you the cool thing that the universe does when you're too low. We'll talk about that in a second. But too high also is not great. Now you might say, okay, Val, well, that sucks. I can't enjoy this. I have to like see the negative. No, what I suggest you do is see how you can make it even better. So if it is a soccer game, you can be like, well, my left kick, I don't know soccer, so this is such a random example, but every single time I got around the goal, I felt a hiccup in my left kick. So next time I'm going to work on that skill set. That actually will bring you into balance. It will bring you back into that state of like, cool, so amazing, love this. I want to tweak this and make it even better. Now, you are also waking up more of your genius by doing that. So anything that I'm super elated about, I celebrate it, it's amazing, but then I balance it out with some form of how could I make this bigger? And that will actually bring that elation energy down enough that you don't need the universe to swing in a flat tire or swing in an argument from your partner. Those things start to push out. So you're now more in balance. So again, energy, this is how it works. It doesn't matter. You can be like, well, I'm going to stay in positivity and I'm going to get positivity. Sure, but if you're too elated up there, the universe, because of the law of balance, universal law in every area of your life, it will have to balance out. So you can play with it that way, but also what's really cool is this thing called pity donut. If you're too low, and I had this all the time when I was younger, all the time, oh my Lord. Looking back, I'm like, oh, I was so low because the whole time I'm thinking my life is cursed and everything is negative. My viewpoint was in the bucket, which meant I was getting so depleted of the positive. My self-image was tanking. Everything about myself was so low that because of the law of balance, the universe has to throw you a leg to pull you up. Now, you could say, well, that's great. I don't have to do anything and the universe will keep throwing it at me. It's not what you want. And that is why I call it a pity donut. The universe is like, we have to balance them out. So send in the emotion of what they want to feel, but in a way that's not pleasant. So for example, I remember this back in the day, like I would have all these people like hit on me, but they were like ugly or older and it would gross me out. So it was the universe going, you need to love yourself, but this is not the way you want it. It's like if there's any form of rejection of the energy, or you can't take it in, if someone gives you a compliment and you literally cannot take it in, that is the universe trying to balance you out, trying to say, that is what you're missing. Here you go. You need to give this to yourself, but you reject it. So any form of pushing out energy, rejection, grossness from something, that is the universe going, you're so depleted, we have to pull in that energy, but it's gonna not be the way you want it. And like I said, in my past, I had so much of that where I was like grossed out by things, or I couldn't take it on. It wasn't the way I wanted it. Why couldn't I have it in this way? And it was because the energy was coming in to balance me out, but it wasn't in the way that I would really enjoy it. So if we are in balance, what happens is we get the things that we want and it's enjoyable. We can get those compliments and take them in. We can get people in our life that we enjoy having in our life. So the law of balance is this constant state of a scale of the universe going, we have to be balanced. So if you're out of balance, the energy just starts to play out, but we can be in control of that, and we can get the best outcomes both on the positive and the negative side if we start playing and be in control of that energy, be in control of our conscious mind, and start looking at the world through this lens. Like I said at the very beginning of this channel, everything we talk about is a universal law, a embodiment that's going to take some time, but after you embody it, it's automatic. My brain can't help but look at a scenario and see both sides all the time. It's just so embedded in my body now that helps keep more things at bay. And obviously there's the subconscious, and that's doing its thing. But on a conscious level, I am constantly seeing the positives and the negatives. And as you can see with me losing my house in the LA fires, my natural response was to swing into the positive. It wasn't that I wasn't feeling the negative. I felt it instantly, and I felt it from the conscious collective that everyone was feeling during that time. But my system automatically was like, this is going to be an opening. I must have mastered something because now everything got wiped out, which means new is coming in. Like, my brain went there instantly, which helped me stay in a space that I was able to then solve the bigger problems. Because that's the other thing you want to keep in mind. You're not going to be at your best if you are imbalanced. If you are in that negative state, it's like almost impossible to intuit information unless you really, really worked on your intuition for years and years and years and years. It takes a while to be able to fight through low frequency information and get a solve in your life. So if I took this LA fire and I was in that negative state for too long, it was going to take way too long for me to get the information I need to open up the next chapter of everything. But if I swing into the positive and I balance out the scenario and keep balancing it out, then one, I get the best outcomes because now I'm in a state of truth. I see it as true. I see the bad, I see the good, equal. There is not one more than the other. Now I can start seeing the truth. Now I can be in that balanced state, which means now I'm connected to more source information and guidance and understanding. And then all of a sudden, I get the solves for all of it. And now my life starts to unfold in a really beautiful way. Unlike when I was younger and everything was negative, that's where I sat for a very long time. And it just piled on top of each other over and over and over again. So the law of balance, it's scientific. It is proven. We are all energy. Everything has to be good and bad in both scenarios. So this also plays in, and this is a whole other topic that maybe we'll get into, is like unconditional love. It's why I have unconditional love for myself and other people, is that there is no right or wrong. There is no good or bad. It's both. So also, if you want to throw in a different verbiage, good and bad, right and wrong also is the same. There is not, this is the right way. You're doing something completely wrong. It's both. And if you have that strong judgment of this is the right way, I work with people with kids, and people always bring up this specific example. What if someone slaps someone? That's so wrong. Like, my child can't just hit people. Of course, not the best thing in the world, but we have to equally swing into the positive and try to see the positive and say, okay, my child expressed him or herself, it didn't hold back, obviously released emotions versus holding it in. And then we again use that tool of going, okay, well, how can we make this better? How can we go, okay, that's so great that you expressed yourself. Did you get the outcome you wanted? No. Okay, well, how do we get the outcome? Maybe we sit and talk to the person instead. Maybe we take a beat and then go back. This is how we wake up again, like our best, brilliant self, is to take a scenario and not go, you did something wrong. We focus on how do we make it bigger and better. Same thing, not just saying it was right. Well, what could be wrong so we can make it even better next time? It's always wanting to swing on both sides. So I would use the verbiage of good and bad, right and wrong, and always know that if you are swinging one side too much, you're missing out on so much. And if there's a part of you right now that is going, there has to be this, all I see is wrong, then that is exactly the area or the pieces that your soul is going, if you do not see the positive, you're going to miss out on so much. You're not going to unlock who you are. You're not going to unlock your true value, because as I was doing this for myself, I started to view myself differently. My skill sets started to change completely because I was using everything around me to gain and grow and evolve versus just have it be a bunch of stories. So law of balance, scientific, you can't get around this. Everything we talk about on this channel, it's not just, oh, it happens over here, but it does not happen over here. Oh, yep, it's here, but there's no way here. It is everywhere. This is just science. Everything is energy, so it has to be in balance at all times. And another cool thing to think about, if you're trying to win an argument, you will never win it if you don't see their side of the story. So I promise you, if you want someone to listen to you or get on your side of the coin, you're going to want to figure out that little piece that I told you. What is the genius in it? Find their genius, because if you can see it and you go, okay, I see their point of view on this, then when you come to the table, they're more likely to see your side. Because if we go back to that war example, refusing to see either side of the coin is what creates war energetically. So if you're just going to go to a meeting or you want to have a conversation with somebody and you want them to see your point of view, this is that same thing. They cannot see your point of view if you don't see some aspect of their side, enough of it that where you go, I totally get this. You don't have to bring it up to them. You just need to know it. That causes the energy to start to balance out versus two sides just hitting each other. I learned that the hard way. So many times, like just wanting someone to understand something that's like, nope, you can't force it because they're going to have to play it back to you. And another way of looking at the law of balance is that everything is a bubble. So your house, if it's just you and your cat, then everything in that house actually creates a bubble, which is balanced. Everything in that bubble is completely balanced. Now, say you go to school, the whole school is all balanced. You can actually see all the pieces constantly be in balance. Our planet is in balance. The United States is in balance. If you go to a workout class, it's in balance. It creates these bubbles. So there is never a time on this planet, wherever you move to right now, we're in balance. The minute I shut this down and I'm just with my dog and in this room, it's in perfect balance. Everywhere you go, the energy has to stay in balance. And I call it bubbles. And why this is super helpful is to know that you can look at things as bubbles and go, okay, what could be out of whack here that we can adjust to be back in balance. It's the coolest thing. This universe is perfect. It's built like a machine that is so beautiful. Everything based off of these laws, it blows your mind. But when you start to go, oh my God, everything is in perfect balance everywhere I go, no matter where I am, whether I'm with someone or not. And that's why you can't ever be in a state of lack. But that's, again, another conversation. But if there's nobody around you, you actually have everything you need. Whether you're around 2,000 people or one, it's still in balance. So put the glasses on of looking through everything in balance, because if you do that, you're going to start to balance out your system. And that's really all that matters, because your system creates your world. If you do not balance this out, your world will not balance out and you will not gain the things you want. So the law of balance, there's both good and bad, right and wrong. Look at both sides. And then at that point, when you are in true balance, you will see the true source information just appear.